There we are. Okay, good.
I had to move to the kitchen. It just wasn't there in the other room. I wonder if it's because that computer's like 10 years old and I
Oh,
had to add the camera and add the microphone and do all sorts of stuff. So I just thought, you know what? I'm just gonna move.
okay. Gotcha.
Anyway, yeah. Where were we?
Now, well, you were talking about the remote
Yeah, I
view.
won't. Yeah, I won't forget about the wolf thing. I think I'll make a little entry, and then the thing is
I think that would be very powerful, especially,
Jonathan
that
too.
that's helped answer for me, Diana, one of the hardest things for me to, get, I'm much, and maybe you've sensed this. I'm pretty left brain. I'm very right brained, but I'm a funny character. So when it comes to me working with people and this whole phenomenon, so maybe I'm the right person on Emma's program to speak to this, right? I just want to I want to stick with the stuff that any survivor can be more assured of.
Hmm.
But when it starts to get into ESP, which that's really what this is, right? The remote viewing, there's
Yeah.
part of me, I've been very hesitant to,
Well, you got to ask yourself how close into witchcraft is this,
right?
you
And
know?
very, very similar too, right?
And
Because,
that's why I don't consciously mess around
right.
with it. But I
But
figure if
isn't,
it comes naturally, then
okay, there you
that's
go.
God
So
from
for you
God.
to describe this, I was just thinking as you were hooking up the other connection here, that I'm willing, not that I wasn't, because my wife is funny. Like she'll get a sense. I think I've mentioned it even yesterday. Her best friend and her, it's just so funny. They'll virtually text at the same time, and
Mhm.
it's happened enough times to where it's like, okay, you know what?
Yeah,
Uh,
you just know you're plugged into someone.
okay, there you go.
It happens with Chris and I all the time. I'll be thinking of something and he'll say it out loud,
Oh,
or
is that
vice,
right?
or vice versa. Yeah. So I
So
don't know. I think that's natural.
again, so this really gives credence to, um, it makes sense that your description of this. Um, Again, not that I haven't been open to it, but I could see them doing. So therefore, I could see them doing an exercise that with a kid and the way
Yeah.
you described it. And so it's like, okay, um, they obviously utilized stuff like this.
Yeah,
So
because I was thinking about what Carrie Alahe was talking about once, and she showed a sketch on Emma's show of how she was asked, I think, to chase three children, and she did. And I thought, well, did I was kind of asking Wolf, did we do anything like that? And she goes, yeah, at first. But then they remembered our tests, Claire's test, the clairvoyant stuff, and they decided to like have them work together so that it wasn't so much work, so to speak, that it could be more of a mental exercise than a physical exercise, if that makes sense.
yeah, yeah.
So yeah,
So that'll be very powerful to include because the average person then isn't going to even have a clue. Like, how would you even think? Because you can only conceptualize what evil people do if you can conceptualize it.
yeah,
You can think, and so to think that you're going to do what with kids? You're going to have them remote view, and it's surreal.
yeah.
Both, right? It's just
Well, and there's something else too. Emma interviewed another guy about specifically remote viewing, and he was talking about how he trained himself how to do it. And he was talking about in one of the steps in the first stages of not learning it, but doing it, there's like three or four different layers of it that you go through. And he said you have to be careful because at a certain point there could be AOL. And he said that's analytical overlay. He said you could see an object that's tall and sharp and whatever the descriptors are. He said, but your analytical right brain mind is going to think, oh, well, that's an XYZ. That's what this is. When he said in reality, it could be completely something different. So you have to put that analytical overlay to the side. You have to train yourself to, yeah, okay, you're going to hear it pop up in your head, but just put that to the side because you can't rely on it. And I realized that back when I was thinking that I was trained at Concord University or Concordia, whatever that name was, that I thought because the person that was raping me was like a head person, I just assumed it was the head of that university. And I realized now that was an analytical overlay because I thought I was at that university. And so the abuse is happening and it's a person in charge. Well, of course, it would be the president. But I realized after I realized it was the Notre Dame place that it couldn't have been the university president. So that was an analytical overlay. And I thought, oh, I kind of clued into what that guy was talking about is your brain wants to just make assumptions and you can't do that. That, yeah, it's going to happen. He said, but just put it to the side, put it in like a little pigeonhole that maybe you'll open up later, or not.
That'll
So
be really good. I'm glad you're recording this because now you have, that'll be really good for you to be able to
yeah.
share.
Yeah. So I thought that was fascinating, but he was talking about how it wasn't a natural psychic gift. It's just something that anyone can be taught. And I thought, well, that's interesting. So, or either maybe what he was trying to communicate was that everyone has this psychic level or something like that. I don't know, but I thought that
My
was,
own response to that would be, unless somebody's been traumatized and unless somebody has this natural gift and it's been used like that, because there's no other way to put it. You're tapping into an ethereal realm.
Mhm, mhm.
Where's the dividing line between the ethereal and the spiritual? And so, yeah, for someone to put forth, okay, it may be accurate, but right, how many people would want to start to say, "Oh, I
It's
can
just
develop." Oh, it's so cute.
my baby. Sorry.
No, right? How can you resist? But I think what's so wonderful, and it's exactly what you were cautioning about energy work. That
Yeah,
it's
you
really
can't.
neat, right? It's really neat that the Lord has given you that sense, that balance, like, okay, it's very real. I'm getting you, meaning I'm getting comfortable, meaning me speaking for you. You're getting more comfortable with this, but
Mhm.
then being able to caution people that, you know what, you don't want to toy with this. If you think it's something cool to, right? Because then, like that guy saying, oh, you could develop it. Well, that's a perfect way to open up for demonic possession.
Exactly. Yeah, because if
We're
it's
inviting demonic stuff, I'm telling you.
yeah, yeah. Well, and there's something that Alan used to he said it in that letter that I read to you that one time was that, those things might be there. He said, but you don't actively utilize them.
There.
That
That's what.
if they are going to manifest naturally maybe it wasn't in that letter, but just somehow he told me, and I don't remember when or where, but just that if it's going to manifest naturally in like some sort of emergency situation or whatever, he said, then that's one thing. He said, but to play around with it and mess around with it
That's
is
exactly.
when you get in trouble.
Matter of fact, I can speak. I had a guy, I don't know if I mentioned on Emma's program,
Or if you're
right?
trying to use it for your egotistical purposes. Yeah.
There I was on psych staff doing a psych eval. Guy's getting ready to be seen by parole, and he played around with that stuff.
Yeah.
So, and he invited basically, he opened himself up. And so he was in prison for attempted murder because the demon caused him to do stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
made him go crazy. And, So, and when he tried to back out, the demon didn't leave. So he made a bargain with the devil. He wanted so badly, and he just got into it. He wanted to get rich.
It's
And he
that ego. Yeah,
there,
you've
right?
got to
And
keep your
he moved to
ego
Las
in
Vegas,
check.
started doing real estate, and he really wanted to, he started with the book, Think and
I'm
Grow Rich.
listening. I'm just gonna
Yeah.
feed the dog.
But it's exactly right. So he had the business, there's such a convergence and merger of business and psychology nowadays, right?
Yeah.
Especially if you can believe it. How about, I guess now they're calling it manifest. We're going to manifest our, right? And that's where this becomes very dangerous. So, Diana, good for you. You've got such good spiritual sensitivity that, as you shared with, you need to be careful
Yeah, you
about this
can't,
energy work,
it's not
about,
a toy. It's, yeah, it can't
there,
be a
there.
toy for your personal gain. I think God gives you those gifts to help you out of a bad spot.
There you go. And for future, like clairvoyant. Okay, so what
Or
that means,
yeah, whatever. Yeah,
right?
like if I'm
Clair,
lost in the woods,
well, and also it means
I
that
find my way out.
means that you're spiritually sensitive. Like in Daniel chapter 10, it's very interesting. I think Daniel had this gift in terms of being able to really grab a hold of God, being able to connect with the Lord. And so in Daniel chapter 10, that is the Old Testament equivalent to the book of Revelation. That's why if someone's going to study Revelation, they need to also study Daniel, because Daniel gives the Old Testament perspective um, as far as world history. And in chapter 10, he's praying. He's not, and he's doing a fast. He's doing somewhat of a limited fast. It wasn't, he wasn't going without food. He just decided to limit certain things.
Sure.
And he says he's down by the river, so he wasn't at home praying. And all of a sudden, the angel of the Lord appears to him. So it's kind of an interesting thing. It's probably a vision of Jesus, but then there's another angel. But it says this, and it's Michael. No, I'm sorry, Gabriel. So three top angels, Lucifer, Michael, and Gabriel, and then Lucifer did what he did and became Satan. Um, and so it says this, the angel told him, he said, it was day number 24. And he said, Daniel, I was dispatched to you. The, the moment you started praying, God heard, and I was dispatched, but I was detained by the prince of the power of Persia. So, a very interesting concept to think that.
Lucifer was detained by a prince
Isn't
of
that so?
darkness.
It's some sort of battle. Oh, and then Gabriel had to call Michael. And so then Gabriel was able to turn it over to Michael because they go way back. So it's funny to think this
Yeah.
kind of battle was going on to where Gabriel then was able to continue to then finally deliver the message, just like Gabriel delivered the message to Mary about she was going to become pregnant with Jesus. So what it tells me is that when any of us, but what I would say is when certain people pray, their prayers go right to the throne of God.
Well, wouldn't everyone's though?
Yes, so that's why it's a weird balance because I want to tell everybody we all have access. But I would say that
Is maybe there's like someone's life is in a particularly important pivot point, and so therefore God's listening more closely.
but I also think Daniel probably had a spiritual gift. So it's sort of like a supercharged gift. So some people have a gift of teaching, but then there's the gift, the prophetic gift, gift of healing.
Yeah.
And, and so it doesn't surprise me that you and then others that have been through a lot of stuff. And this is, I think, to give you hope. It's almost like a VIP prayer pass. That's probably a good way to put it. I think I really like that, by the way, right? When
Yeah.
I pray, I know my prayers get through immediately. But to
Yeah.
me, it makes sense that if somebody both spiritual giftedness and then went through a lot, it's just like you guys have a special place in God's heart. I'm good with that. You've earned it. And
I
so,
don't know. I feel like that makes my ego want to pump up, fill up and so I like kind of putting that to the side because I
we'll
can't,
ponder it because I really think
you
that
know.
the way I view it is if somebody went through something horrific, they have a special place in God's heart. And
Yeah. Well,
I,
and but plus too that I think God has to know, like he had to know that my dad's family was doing that and that my sisters were already being abused. And so, okay, Diana, are you sure you want to go be there? And, I would say yes. And so that means like I have a special mission for the rest of my life. And so therefore he gives me a direct line, so to
there, okay,
speak.
there's nothing,
I
right?
don't
So I
I don't
think that,
know. But
so
oh,
therefore,
oh,
oh yeah,
I forgot to tell you too. Remember the friend I told you from Milwaukee that were the boys that lived across the street from us when we were little and they were like our brothers.
yeah.
They helped us move and this and that. And that when I was with Melissa, she told me, "Oh, you can't."
Oh yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
so I kind of cut things off with him in February. Well, I sent him a text last week saying, Joe, you're my oldest friend in the world. Please forgive me, let me blah, blah, blah. But it wouldn't deliver. And it wouldn't deliver. And I called and it wouldn't pick up. And I'm like, oh man. And that was his cell phone. So it finally occurred to me, so Diana, just call the landline. He's had this landline for since like 1970, right? And so I called and it answered, but it went straight to voicemail. And I thought, well, that's weird. Well, he called me back an hour later and we talked for 3 hours yesterday.
That's wonderful.
Yeah, and
That's wonderful.
yeah, and so he forgave me all the whatever, and I was like, oh, please, please forgive me. He's like, don't even worry about it. I knew it wasn't a thing. But I asked him, I said, do you ever remember? It
Oh,
suddenly hit me. I thought he could corroborate. He was there during that time. And I asked him, do you remember seeing anything odd or me and my sisters being gone on the weekends or maybe just me being gone on the weekends or anything about my dad? And he says, he said, honestly, in all those years, I only saw your dad 2 times. I thought, wow, 2 times. I mean, that was 10 years, right? And he had glasses, right? I said, yeah. He said, I'm pretty sure that's who I'm thinking of. And he said, but honestly, he said, I was so focused on Angie and chasing Angie around and Angie and I being in her room and making out and us necking and whatever. He said, I didn't really think about much else. He said, so I can't tell you. I was like, wow. Um, but then we talked about various different people that we knew in the neighborhood, and he's catching me up on all the things that were happening. And he was talking about the Frank family. The woman that we knew was Fran Frank is the mother, and she had 2 kids, Karen, which is also my mom's name, and Kevin, which is also my cousin's name. So Karen and Kevin Frank, their mom is Fran. He says, when Kevin became an adult, well, I was telling him about the satanic ritual abuse and a few things having to do with it. And he's like, oh, wow, honey, I'm really sorry you went through that. And so that triggered him into remembering. He goes, well, do you remember the building on such and such street? And he's giving me the cross streets. And so I go into Google Maps and I'm looking at it. I said vaguely, I think I remember driving past it, but it was a strip club. He goes, well, that place always was rumored to be like really bad and has tunnels under it and all sorts of stuff. And he was talking about
wow.
how because his family was into construction. Oh, and before I forget this, do you remember I told you about my dad chasing us and being stopped at the state line with guns
Yeah,
in his car.
yeah,
And I said,
yeah,
I think it was the Emanuelis that may have done that.
that's right.
Well, I asked him about that, and he goes, well, no, he said, I wasn't old enough to drive. He said, I think Bob was. I think Bob drove you, and then he goes, no, no, no. He goes, but we had a cousin who was a captain in the Milwaukee Police Department. He said, so all it would have been as simple as a phone call from the family. He said, so, but yeah, me and my brothers used to really, I think he said that they would smell something bad about your dad. He said, we could just smell it on him. I said, really? I said, so yeah, he goes, so that last year when your mom divorced your dad, and I talked to him about, how the judge would have to have enough evidence to let her leave the state and him being stopped with the guns. He goes, yeah, I could see Mike probably calling the cops, maybe seeing your dad sniffing around. He said, I just remember watching you guys pull away in that moving truck and feeling really, really, really sad. And I was like, oh. But yeah, because one of their cousins was my mom's lawyer for the divorce. And I think it was another cousin, maybe a cousin or an uncle who was a captain of the police department. So I think I think one of the older brothers, they're both dead now. Because Joe is the youngest, and there's Bob and Mike. Um, I think that they made that phone call and made that happen, or just said, look, we don't know what's going on, but could you follow this moving truck or whatever? Because how they would happen to just be at the state line when he got there, because they wouldn't be able to cross the state line, right? So if they followed us and stopped at the state line and waited and knew what his car and his plate number was, then they could have saw him and stopped him. Right. So I think that could be what happened is they just had them follow us. And when they got to the state line, just stopped and waited to see. And then they caught him. But I don't know. I said, well, do you know, was he arrested? Was he put in jail? Did anything? He goes, oh, I have no idea. But I thought maybe I could call the Milwaukee Police Department and find out. So I thought that was fascinating. And okay. And now back to the other story with this building.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Apparently it was used during Prohibition times. And that's what the tunnels were used for, was to sneak the booze in and out of this strip club. But he goes, yeah, he said, anytime I was ever around there, I got the creeps. And then he was talking about the Frank family. He said when Kevin was an adult, he said somehow he wound up in their house. And he goes, I was okay until I walked by this one room and I got this really bad feeling. He said, so I went in there and walked around and I was okay until I walked past this one box. He said, so I opened the box up to see what was in there. And he said it was just simply a news article talking about how the son had murdered someone. And he said, I was just tripped out that I got such a bad feeling from a simple newspaper article inside of a box in a room, blah, blah, blah.
There we go. That's that, right? That's what
Yeah. And I said, I never knew that. He's like, oh, yeah. And he says, well, do you remember what you told me about Karen, Frank, his sister? I said, what do you mean? He goes, and then as soon as he started talking about it, I remembered it. We were little in my bedroom playing. I'd say maybe kindergarten, maybe before. But we're playing and she goes into my closet, the closet doors are open. She's playing in there and a little dog comes in. I forget the name of it. He even gave me the name of the dog. You see,
you were
remember
at their place, at her
no,
house?
at my house. And Karen happened to be there playing with me in my bedroom, and the closet was open. And she went in there with this little black and white dog and started sucking its penis. And I told Joe this story. I said, it really freaked me out. I just thought that was really wrong and weird and twisted. And I decided not to play with her anymore. And he goes, well, that's a good thing because the brother was a murderer. The mom was really twisted. And then it hit me. I said, Joe, my God, think about this. I said, what if they were Satanists? I said, because she's into bestiality, he winds up committing murder. The mom is really weird and twisted anyway. He's told me a little bit about the father. I don't even remember, just a tiny little bit. I said, so what if my dad and his dad were Satanists that practiced together or met up together or bumped into each other? And just says, well, I don't doubt if your dad probably hung out in that strip club. This is just down this, maybe half mile away. And it just hit me that I wonder. And then I told him the YouTube video I watched about that Bill Schnobelen guy, and how he was talking about all those witchcraft covens all over Milwaukee during that time period. And I told Joe that. And he goes, well, Milwaukee is kind of really weird. And he was telling me about because his family was into construction. So they did construction all over the city. And he was telling me one other story about it. He says, well, him and his older brothers went to this one place where in the basement there were tunnels, right? But that some guy had walled it off, right, to close out these tunnels. And when they went to go do the construction, it was either to fix it or tear it down or do something. He goes, yeah, he said, there's tunnels all over the city. So that doesn't surprise me. So, I mean, so I guess he corroborated a little tiny bit with me, but what got me the most was realizing that I think that Frank's husband, I don't even remember who he was. I think they were separated, but I think him and Dad may have had some sort of connection in this little satanic or witchcraft or whatever business, because he wasn't going back to see his parents anymore. So he didn't have any updating, so to speak, or maintenance of his badness, or however you would say that. So I wonder if he didn't start hanging out with the local Wiccans to just keep his pump primed, so to speak. You know what I mean? So I thought that was fascinating. But yeah, I was telling him about Angie. I said, don't ever, ever, ever tell her this. I said, but I remember this one, memory. And I told him about it. And I said, so she was really made to be the example of how to be a proper whore, basically, a little girl whore. And she was trying to show us how to be a good little girl whore too, for the coven or the cult, whatever. And I said, so did you ever get a vibe or a sense of any of that? And he goes, no, never. And I said, see, you don't remember me being gone for like a whole Saturday and Angie and Mary maybe being home? And he goes, no, none of it. So I was kind of disappointed. I thought maybe he would corroborate some
But as
stuff.
he said, he was focused on.
Yeah. And I thought, well, if he was so focused on Angie, then what did he do on the times when Angie and Mary and I were all at that training camp? We weren't home. So I guess, Mom must have given him some excuse, that Dad told her to say.
Yeah.
So for him, he would have just thought, oh, no big deal, and bebopped on his way.
There you go. There you go.
So, but yeah, I thought I have this notion that I should contact my cousin Cheryl, and that would be on my dad's side. But I kind of don't want to, because I have this fear that she's still in it. And that if I contact her, then I raise a red flag for her to be watched or hassled or whatever. So I don't know what I should do about it. But I still don't have the number yet. Ruth hasn't given it to me, and Angie claims she doesn't have it, even though she could contact her on Facebook and get the number.
Oh.
She won't do it. So I'm like, I don't know. I guess I'm just going to leave it into God's hands. If I get the number, great. And if I don't, he's protecting me. So, but cousin Cheryl, she was one of the, she was probably a couple, 3 years older than Angie. So that would make her 5 to 6 years older than me. And so she would have been, the good, proper cult member. And she helped be a perp. So who knows if she got out, got saved, stopped, whatever, if she's a basket case. And something else that I've been meaning to tell you too, my dad's mother was diagnosed with schizophrenia, I guess later in her life. And she started to lose her mind. And kind of when she passed away, I guess she was not right in the mind. And it's Angie has this notion that Mary has a little bit of that schizophrenia. And I'm thinking, well, I wonder if it would be schizophrenia at all, or if just Satan, she's just,
But that's the first thing,
it's just Satan just twisted her mind so badly, it
demonic
became
possession stuff.
unrepairable, like the way you talk going through that twisting zone.
There you go.
Yeah, so, but Mary would not have done that as an adult. I mean, the one thing I'll give Mary credit for is she refused to allow my father anywhere near her children, right? Which was great. My dad never knew his only grandchildren because Angie and I never had children, only Mary had the two.
Does Mary know why she didn't allow your dad?
I think, yeah, but I think she probably suppresses it because she knows that I was sexually abused. She knows that she hates my dad. She knows that her dad treated us badly. And no, you're never getting anywhere near my children. But the irony is that my mom remarried that guy in Canada who was a pedophile that nobody had a clue. And he wound up, him and my mom would drive to her house twice a year for 3 weeks at a time. And so she invited another pedophile into her home. Now, I don't think Grant and Celine ever were abused in any way, but who knows what could have happened. They were babies up until I think mom got to go there and be with them and know them till they were 12 and 14. So, and I'd like to hope if anything did happen that one of the children would have said something. I think Mary would have been a little hyper vigilant for that. Plus, too, Mary, before we were became estranged from each other, she told me once that she used to have nightmares and wake up holding her crotch, screaming, holding her crotch. And this is when she was married with her children. And so she used to call me and talk to me about it. And I'd go, well, what do you think that means?
Wow.
She said, well, I don't know. I said, well, you understand my history. I
I
said,
don't
you
know.
understand
Everybody
my,
wakes up holding their crotch screaming.
I know, right? But for her, she couldn't go there.
No,
And
that's right.
I was like, we're this close, Mary. We're this close. How can you not? I said, what I've told you, my experiences. I could, gave them very brief stories, but it was maybe 6 months or a year she went through this, and her father-in-law passed away. And she said, so when this happened again once, she said, I woke up and she said, I asked Grandpa Henry, because that was what they called, her father-in-law, because he's now dead and a spirit, if he would protect me. And I thought, why would you ask a dead spirit to protect you from your memories? And I thought, she just opened up her life to demonic interference.
That's right.
That's the last I know of what's going on with her. But I know that she has a very contentious relationship with her daughter. Her daughter just can't be bothered. And Mary moved to Florida so that Celine could have, in-state tuition instead of out-of-state tuition. And and Grant, he will back up his mother to the, to the last degree, even though he might disagree with her. So he's like a properly programmed little protective boy, you know. But I was always just sad that I never got to know my niece and nephew as well as I would have liked to. Because when they were little and couldn't really communicate real well, Mary was perfectly happy to put them on the phone and we'd chat the nonsense jabber that a little kid talks, right?
Yeah.
But once they started to get a grip and be able to communicate and retain information, that's when she stopped putting them on the phone. And I remember we had huge argument about that. I'm like, why don't I get to talk to your kids anymore? Why? Because I happened to let slip that she smoked cigarettes as a teenager. And she was just like, oh, no, 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 you can't tell them anything about me or my past because, she had to be just like the golden mother in their eyes. And I'm like, well, she's not. I think because I smoked at the time and they were, like, scolding me or something. I don't remember. I said, well, you do know that your mother smoked as a teenager too, and so did your Aunt Angie and Grandma. We all smoked. I said, they all quit. I'm just the only one still hanging on. And they're like, really? We didn't know that. And I think they probably went and challenged their mom, and she got pissed off. And that was when I wasn't allowed to talk to her kids anymore. And that was like maybe around the age of 8. And, we didn't talk for a year and a half after that. And finally, she calls me and starts talking as though nothing had ever happened. I'm like, well, what?
Right. There's a good description of it.
And I'm like, what the fuck? I mean, a year and a half, you just blew me off. And here was the reason. She just brushed it all under the rug. And I thought, well, okay, I want to have a relationship with my sister. So, okay, let's let it go. But it's still stuck in my craw that I didn't get to know my niece and nephew. I'm like, can I talk to him? Can I this? Can I that? I didn't even know until they were like, I don't know, 16, 18 years old that they got cell phones at like 12 years old. I could have called and talked to them directly without her, but I didn't even know that. So anyway, so that's Mary. And then when mom died, she just turned into queen bitch, crazy, all about the money, even though there was no money. Uh, it's just nuts. So, but Mary, yeah, she always wanted to have the power and the status and the whatever. I think she was ticked off because she wasn't the oldest, so didn't get Angie's power position, what she considered a power position. And she was ticked off at me because I was separated out for, I think for my IQ and stuff. And so given different special training. And there she was just floundering in the middle as a nothing. And dad used to, mock her and just treat her like a black sheep. So she just had attitude and a chip on her shoulder her whole life. She's just always been angry, which I get why she was angry now, but so. Oh, I should probably show you the stuff with the Canadian royalty.
Okay. And then if you want, we can continue to review. I don't think we had a chance to review the most recent revision of the chart.
Oh, right. Yeah. Okay. So let me go back here. I want the journal first. Yeah, there's not a whole lot. Let me share screen now. It's not a whole lot on Canadian properties up there. Okay, share. This is what I got so far was, oh geez. There's just like 4 or 5 properties, but none of them are really royalty stuff. Here's Crown Land. So here's Milwaukee over here. So you got this Crown Land up here, which they're more like natural reserves. So it is possible that you know, there was a building or something. But in terms of a home, the Royals didn't really have a whole bunch of homes there. They had one place that they went to, and it's this place called Rideau Hall.
Mm.
Right now, if you look, here's the official residence of the Prime Minister of Canada here. There's an ambassador of France here, an embassy.
Oh, okay. Well, wouldn't that, how convenient is that since you've
So
got
this
all
is
these
like
different,
all this political area. Now, the
yeah.
Rideau Hall is where the, oh, let me see. It's where the royals would go when they went to Canada. They would
There you
stay
go. Yep,
there,
yep, yep, yep,
right? They would stay here. So this is the place. Now, if you'll notice, see this little outbuilding here?
yep.
And I thought, well, okay, because I remember flying in and the building being to the left. Now, Milwaukee's over here.
Is that a landing strip?
Well, that's what I thought, is I thought, well, it is curved, but here's a
Oh, I'm
straightaway.
sorry. Look at the Rideau skating rink.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, there's plenty of I mean, this is a lot of forest, but I kept thinking, where could a plane land
Okay, yeah,
in the middle of the night?
yeah.
Right. But I thought this looks like the most logical place because I remember coming in, landing, and the building being off to the left. Now, I should actually bring this up in Google Maps. You cannot get a street level view of any of
Oh,
this.
is that right?
You can only see this road with the fence. Now, and when you go on the road, let me see if I'll
Is
bring it
that
up.
part of their property?
Yeah, I believe so. Let me see. Yeah, and here's the thing too, is there's a thing called the Fountain of Hope. And when I saw it and looked at it, I thought the Fountain of Hope, are you kidding me? What kind of hope would this place have? And
No.
it occurred to me that that wasn't me thinking, that was a part. So I think that this is the outbuilding and that somehow I was through this little opening of trees here. That's how you were able to see the building, or maybe 50 years ago, these trees weren't this big. I don't know. But I think the plane came in from the west over here, turned around and landed here. And
You-
then it came in and taxied and turned around and took off this way again because it's just a small private airplane. But yeah, let me show you. I hate this. Dang it.
Because there would be, I mean, look, there's direct access.
Yeah, and also too, you can't tell me that they don't have tunnels going around. Anyway, I read about 5 different articles about the Royals and when they went to Canada and what it was, is they would always stay at this Rideau Hall, right? So here's one instance of it. And this is just, you know, a breakdown of her family at that time. Why can I never get this right? It's like the thing for Zoom, the menu is, I'm going to stop sharing for a second. It's
That's
right
fine.
on top of what I need to access. Make that smaller. Get rid of this. Get rid of this.
It wouldn't be hard for them to, have the landing lights along the run along that string
Yeah.
that they turn on when they need it because it's pretty straight right there.
Yeah. Oh geez, what are all these? These are pages that I saved, but I don't want to go through all these now. All right. So I guess, man, see this Zoom menu is right over the what I need to access here. Dang it. Need to change the shape of this thing.
Well, good for you that you've been researching it.
Yeah. Here we go. Okay. RIDEAU Hall, Canada. But yeah, every royal that's ever gone there, they stay at this Rideau Hall. It says that, you know, it's so-and-so had a property here for a short time and another one there for another short time, but
And from those pictures right there, back in the other screen, do any of those look familiar?
I'm going to show you Google Maps. Okay. Rideau Hall. Okay. But there's this huge building, this Rideau Hall, and you've got the different government offices and buildings here, but look at all of this space. And here's this Fountain of Hope. I think I've seen this fountain, honestly.
Can you do the actual Earth view?
Yeah, you mean this?
There you go.
But I mean, look at it. It's an enormous piece of property. I mean, I don't
So,
know if I was in this building, I don't know how I could have seen the unless the building is just so big, you could see it over the trees. So there's always that. And here's a little cottage here, you know, a little gazebo. I don't know what's happening over here, but I think planes could have landed right here. But look at this thing. It could be anything. And it doesn't even have like a road to it. It's
yeah,
just a
yeah,
pathway. It's like, what is this?
that's
What
right.
is it there for? I mean, and you go to the street view here, I'll show you. You go to the street view here. That's all you can see.
Now let's see the road itself. Is it straight enough to land a plane on?
Yeah, that would be up here after the curve. Oh, see, it's not letting me go any further. The part where it would be straight.
No, it's not
You
letting you
can't
go.
see it. Yeah, so you don't even know if
Interesting,
there's an opening here.
right?
Yeah,
You wonder why it wouldn't permit you to keep going.
you can't see anything of this at all. Here, wait. Any of the buildings at all. You can't go in there and look at them. See, and now I can't even go further that way. Oh, wait, now there it goes. But yeah, this will take you to the ocean going this way. Princess Avenue. I don't know. I just thought it was fascinating.
Yeah.
So anything could have happened here because my first thought was, well, maybe it was something going on over here. And I was like, yeah, but there's no straight roads to land on. You know, but you can't see this at all, the street view. You can only see this. That's it. And this is their government building. I think this is where is it where the prime minister lives? Or no, this is the residence of the prime minister. So I think this is some sort of, it's like a government building. I don't even remember. RIDEAU. The governor general. Yeah, so that's right, because they have a prime minister and they have a governor general, which is he's like the queen's person there. It's the official residence in Ottawa of both the governor general and the Canadian monarch. So yeah, this is where the royals stay. You know, 36, you know, it goes into all this.
It'd be interesting to try to find pictures of that and see if it matches what you're, oh, I'm sorry, inside that.
Yeah, whatever that little outbuilding is there. I mean, what
Or
is that?
also just as you said, you remember seeing Van Gogh, and so you wonder if,
Well, I think those are different
oh,
place.
oh, okay, okay.
Somebody really wealthy in
I
Milwaukee.
got you.
I don't know. Maybe it was here. I have no idea right now. But when I saw this word Fountain of Hope, it's like whatever part of me saw that as a child repeated the same thing she said then. Fountain of Hope. What kind of hope is there here? You
When you
know,
click on that, does it show the,
she just thought it was a joke. No, yeah, this is it. That's as far as you can go.
okay, so,
And you can't get onto the street and see a street view. You can't drive around here and look around. It's only this satellite view you get.
now I'm noticing up in the top right, there's that round building.
Yeah, yeah, like some sort of gazebo or something. Or not a gazebo, it's too large to be a gazebo. Yeah, I don't know what any
That,
of this is.
you wonder if that's a theater.
Yeah. Yeah, at the place I was, I'm pretty sure it was not a round building. I keep
Okay,
getting the sense that it was this place here.
that,
It's like
that,
where they do their dirty work,
that makes,
because that's a whole lot of blood flying around, I
yeah,
mean, but I mean, look at it. There's just this weird little path. Why would they have this here without a cemented, drivable way to get there? What is it?
correct.
It's just,
Yeah, because everything else has,
and it's right next to this
yeah,
straightaway. Yeah, I mean, everything else you can drive to, or take a golf cart or drive around or whatever, but not this place. So that's all I
I
could
can see
find.
if they're doing an event, you could block off the two ends of that street.
Oh, sure. Yeah. And I kept thinking, well, how did we get in here with that, that gate that they have there? I mean, look at that. I thought it'd be simple enough to have an opening in one of these and just walk through,
Oh, yeah, yeah. No, that's right.
you know. I haven't figured out how to go back, so it's just redo it anyway. So, but yeah, I mean, if you look at I mean, they've got all these roundabouts going on here. Satanists have a thing with circles, you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah, they do.
And they're different, all these circles everywhere, which I should talk. I've got circles all over my house, but
They're funny. They're
you
funny.
know. But I thought this is it's all tucked away in the woods and the trees would muffle a lot of the sound. So it makes sense that that would be the place. And again, this is 50 years old. This could be a new building too. I have no idea, but for some reason this makes sense to me. I just don't remember a round metal roof like this. This looks like a hangar or something, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
So I don't know. I remember a squarish kind of building, but I just think that's odd. And this Fountain of Hope, one of my parts knows. So maybe we were brought in here and maybe went to one of these buildings here. I don't know. I really don't know. That might make sense too, to fly in here, bring us to that building. I just remember something square and one story and maybe about 2,000 square feet.
Well, there's actually, scroll back. Yeah, look at those are like the size of houses.
I know, I know.
Now go to the right. Look at the, with your cursor.
You mean over here?
No, now go to the left, right on the inside of, look at
Oh,
those.
here. Yeah, yeah, you're right. Yeah,
Those are
they are
regular
like
homes.
mansions or something. Yeah. Well, not mansions. The mansions would be over here, but
Yeah.
yeah, they are big houses here. So what is this? Gymnastics club, Mount St. Joseph. St. Bridget's School. So, I mean, it's definitely an area full of stuff. Ashbury College. I mean, look at this. These might be apartment complexes here, but these are big homes. Rideau Cottage. So, I mean, if the Royals, when they come here, this is like their mansion, and, maybe the lesser royalty stays in the cottage or something. I don't know. But what is all of this for?
There you go.
See, the building, I remember, now that I look at it, it looked more like this. It's long, but I was looking at it from the side, so maybe none of the rest of this was here. I don't know.
Oh,
But I
okay.
don't know what it is to look it up and see when it was built. I was trying to figure out, I saw this other guy on YouTube. He knows how to take Google Maps and change the year so you can see the development of a property, but I don't know how to do that. Do you?
I don't.
Yeah, but this building just seems really bizarre to me when all the rest are just so perfectly manicured and whatever, and then this looks like a hangar to me. But how would you get a plane in there?
Yeah.
So who knows?
But that is, that's long enough, that strip right there to,
For a small private plane to land and take off, yeah. Or even any of these roads, but then you're in the middle of neighborhoods. So it seemed to me like this was the most logical place right there. And again, 50 years, maybe maybe this was a straight road from there to there. Or even, my first thought was maybe it came in through here on this dirt road because it went straight into the house, to this castle. And I was like, well, I don't know if a plane could get through there with all those trees. And that's when I noticed this, but I think this is probably the landing strip.
yeah, because if you see the size of those cars from that view with those buildings, that would be easily long enough.
Yeah, for sure. And plus, too, I kept thinking you could have all sorts of tunnels through here and have all kinds of boats land anywhere along here and take people through tunnels and bring them in through here. They could have all sorts of weird things going on because you've got the French embassy over here,
Yep.
the governor's mansion, and they're all twisted. I mean,
Yeah.
here's the embassy, the Vietnamese embassy.
These are all the embassies.
Yeah, so this is like the government area, an Anglican church here, because that's what they have in Britain is the Anglican church, right?
That's right.
So School of Dance, Peloton. Oh, the governor's walk retirement residence. So he's got his regular residence over here and a retirement residence over here. I mean, what's that about? Is there a tunnel between the two? And here's the island. I don't know. Anything could go on here. So that's that.
There's a cemetery right there, so.
Oh, yeah. I want to get out of there. Wait.
Oh, good
Yeah,
detective.
the various different articles I read were basically talking about how, yeah, there have been properties here and there, nothing real important, but that when anybody comes to Canada that's royalty, this is where they stay. This is the spot, this Rideau Hall.
Certainly close enough by flight, it would make sense. Take a flight there.
Oh, right. You wanted to see the part stuff. Let me open
Well,
that up.
yeah,
Okay,
it
open.
makes sense. There's a little ebb and flow. You know, you've been doing such good work. Um,
Yeah, I was like, is my brain just giving me a rest or
right?
is
It's
somebody
just
blocking something or what's
kind
happening
of
here?
assimilating or processing.
Yeah, let me share again.
And
Okay.
it'll be interesting as you're transcribing my stuff now. We'll be
Yeah, well, it's
we'll
giving
be
me,
co-authors.
well, because you get every little detail and every little nuance when you transcribe. It's not like you get the general concept and a few details. You get the nitty gritty when you transcribe. Every last word, every last comma. It's a really intense way to learn
Yeah,
something.
well, it'll be interesting for you to track my, my tangents.
Where did this go? Oh, see, this changed, but it didn't save. That's interesting.
Been more added.
Yeah. Oh, I know it changed. Is some names changed? I'll go through that. You've got
Oh,
Lance. He's not loose.
oh,
I thought
so
I'd keep the old picture and in
does that have the kind of the right feeling?
yeah, because he's an angel, but
Yeah.
he's a good angel. Oops, wait.
Is he likes his name? Is that resonating?
Yeah, he likes it a lot because Lance cut through the bullshit.
Oh,
Right? Yeah. So, Trish, let's see. Puzzle Dream. And I started to add my different entries as the dream showed me the royalty thing to do at the plays in Chicago. So I'm going to start adding my journal entries into the different parts sections. Um, I don't know if I ever showed you this, the layout of the Masonic Lodge. I kind of made it picture, but then I realized, oh, I've got my journal entry. Do you know
yeah,
what a ziggurat is?
yeah.
Okay, well, that's how this place was designed. If you look at the stairs, here's the basement. The tunnel came in through here, right? And you'd go up the stairs and it would wind you around in a circle.
Oh,
I think I did, yeah, here's the tunnel with the incinerator. And they would bring the children in, they'd do their sacrificial stuff here. They'd collect the body parts and the blood and you would go up, you'd come around in a circle and you'd go upstairs, right? So you wind up coming up here into this room and you'd come in a circle, do the rituals, and you'd go up these stairs to the men's area and wind up going in a circle.
can
And
you
then when you
where
went down, it would be the reverse thing. What were you saying?
can you find this on Google Maps? This building?
I haven't been able to, no, no.
Because you said it was on the property of a Baptist church?
Yeah, and I think I found the Baptist church, but um not any building that has that looks like this. I just no, I haven't been able to. So okay, there's that. Oh, Sarah, this was Scar. After I did a TED Talk,
Oh,
she decided that let me see if I have that entry. Oh yeah, here. I remembered that Lonnie was tied to the post. She believes she didn't deserve help because I gotta move this.
how did the post, is this the one in the basement?
Huh?
Is this the one in the basement where your sisters were on the other side?
Yeah, that's Lonnie. But when I did, it says she believes she didn't deserve to be helped because of all the horrible things she had done. She deserved to be alone and lonely and for no one to help her. She had killed many people by then. Then little killer jumped in and said, I know what you mean. I had to kill those kittens and I loved them. How could anyone love me? I'm so bad. Plus, just last year, I had to kill those kittens from the stray cat in the backyard. We have a shed, and on one side there's like a little opening underneath. So a stray cat got in there and had kittens. Well, Dixie was losing her mind anytime there's kittens in the yard. And so to keep Dixie under control, I couldn't get the cats out. And so I thought, well, if I hose it down in there and get the kittens wet and the mama wet, she'll take the kittens out. Well, she didn't. She left them in there and they died. And I felt really bad about that. Anyways, this plus last year to kill those kittens from the stray cat in the backyard. And now there are some in the front yard again, behind a bush. He said, I'm just going to let them grow up and move on. I don't have to kill them in order to control the stray cat population. So little killer felt like she had to keep killing kittens even a month ago.
Is that right?
Yeah. I said, so let God take care of that. Then Scar jumped into action, all of us hitting Ted. She said that she understood all of us, that how could God love her at all for slicing open that baby and killing it? That God would never love her. She was so bad. Then she remembered it was after that I was sent up to that next ritual where Jesus came into my body and scattered off all the witches. Jesus was telling me that he did love me and he would love me forever. But I wouldn't or couldn't believe that. And that's why I never remembered my baptisms or anything having to do with him throughout my life. I couldn't accept his love because I didn't think I was worthy of it. I also didn't even try to find out about him, why he would just reject me anyway. So I looked away from him. And that's why whenever I do have friends, that I do go out of my way to be the better person so that I can make up for all the bad stuff that I've done. And hopefully God will see it and love me, because otherwise I can't be loved. I've done too much bad stuff. I allow people to treat me badly without saying anything as a way to punish myself, to pay for the bad things, to work for their love, because I have offended God by what I have done. Perhaps this way he will see that I am good and then love and accept me. Oops. It says, once I realized that, the tears stopped. I realized that it was the perps in each situation that made me feel that way by making me do those horrible things, that I took on their knapsacks and punished myself.
Well put. That's spot on.
I know that I would never do those things ever in a million years. They made me. But because of it, I made myself less important, not worthy of respect or love or even the time of day, or even to know God. Now I know it was not me. It was them. It was they who deserve hell, not me. I know that I don't have to talk to Melissa and have her feel bad for those things. That's on her. All I need to do going forward is let her know when I feel put off and that it hurts me, to correct things as they happen and ask for what I want. I don't have to point the finger at her or anyone and say, you are bad. She is just living her life, and it is I who have to allow those things, and it is I who have allowed those things. Going forward, I just won't allow those things that I don't like or speak up and say what I would prefer or prefer to be different. So that's good now. I feel better. So right then, Scar and Little Killer wanted new names. So they chose Sarah and Catherine. And so
Okay, now, by the way,
this is Sarah.
what that description which you just wrote is going to set many, many people free.
I hope so. Yeah, I think so.
I mean, you need to like highlight that one in color. I just noticed because of what when you talked about you're doing this in Word, the most recent stuff that I've been doing with Emma, I'm sorry, in PowerPoint, I'm doing the same thing now. I thought, why
Isn't
haven't I
it
been using
easier?
PowerPoint?
Isn't
Okay,
it
so that
easier?
oh,
Yeah.
I'm telling you. So I mean, I had done it for a grief and loss seminar, but I hadn't thought of like this. So number one, when you see me doing PowerPoint, it's your fault. It just
I
comes exact.
I
Okay.
was hoping so when I saw that. I
Oh,
said,
that's
I
it.
think I
That
had
you are the
something to do
reason
with
why.
it.
So, but the description. So what I just discovered yesterday, they give the options of with the blank ones, you can have PowerPoint put it in a different. It'll add color. I forget.
Oh
It's
yeah, you
somewhere.
can highlight, I guess.
Well, no, it actually there's a up top. I was pretty impressed, or maybe you need an updated. I don't know the version I have of
I
Power.
like that.
No, it actually will change the entire background
Oh yeah, I think I don't really mess with that too much, but I think I know what you're talking about.
I think you should try because to be able to put a neat looking background, to have that slide, this slide is going to be one of the most key things.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. When you first add a picture to it, it'll make a whole like
Yeah.
design
So
background.
maybe you could duplicate it and see what, or I don't know, but
Yeah,
I
I'll
just
see.
for
Yeah.
you make this one stand out because this really will be the culmination to help people heal. This one right here.
Okay.
Your description is just powerful.
Oh, yeah. So this is little Sarah because I remembered she was in her Sunday best dress, and I believe it was white. And and I think mom was told to put me in white because grandma had planned to take me into that ritual. And by killing the baby, it got the dress all bloody.
Of course it did.
And it was like supposed to that's exactly what she wanted it to do. It was take that innocence
That's right.
and
That's right.
stain it
Yeah.
and then take it away from me and put me in someone else's used nasty clothes while she burned up this beautiful little dress. So Sarah want this is how she started off. And grandma turned her into this, but she's like, well, now that we know it wasn't our fault, I get to be me again.
Okay, and that's really the key step to healing.
Yeah, and this is when I think that this is when that's when I had that little boy haircut. I think Sailor was born in this time period, not at the age of 7, but
It makes sense. It makes sense.
I haven't found that he hasn't showed me that that situation yet, so I don't know. But so that's little Sarah. And I'll show you Catherine. Um, oh, is she
In
Catherine?
fact, there's a lot of these that we haven't gone through.
I know, I know. Where is Catherine? Little killer. Oh, I know why, because I chose a picture that was not from Google, so it's hard for me to recognize now. Oh,
Matter of fact, yeah, you've got slides already on here where it
oh,
has
here.
that effect. So yeah.
Yeah, Laura was Lonnie, right? So this is the same realization, Scar and little, yeah, but this was me at that age, exactly. And because Lonnie was the lonely one who just thought she didn't deserve friends, it was my family who was my friends. So there's Angie, Mary, my cousin Jim. So I chose this picture because she's not alone anymore. She
And
knows
are
she
you
has.
younger than the picture where you have that haircut where you're thinking that sailor at this age? Is
Well,
this?
this is age 7. This is Lonnie.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, and I realized, well, look at the hair in the real in this picture, and it's the same as this hair.
Yeah.
So everything lines up. This is the 7-year-old.
Okay. 7. How old was the other one when you're in the?
4. 4. I'm trying
Okay.
to find.
So now that's interesting because just think about, okay. Usually parents, I mean, I'm a parent of a daughter, usually um, parents are going to
Oh,
grow
here.
their little girl's hair out,
So they're more feminine. Yeah, because they're
right?
little girls.
And then maybe later on they'll do a different kind of look, but it was reversed here. So they gave you a
Yeah,
short haircut
at
purposely with
at
what
four
looks like a
years
little,
old. Yeah,
right?
right
But
there.
then later pictures you have long hair. So the question is, just as an outsider for your parents, I would say, I'm kind of curious about something. With long hair, what, and obviously a child doesn't decide their own hairstyle. This
Mm-hmm.
was superimposed upon this kid, this little girl, to go
Mm-hmm.
from long hair to that to long hair again.
I know, I know. Isn't that
And
weird?
purposely with what would look like a little sideburn to where it would be difficult
It is. It looks like it's a boy's haircut.
There you go. So for a parent, right, I'm going to ask, hey, I'm noticing something. We have this really strange period of time where you had a radically different hairstyle for your daughter. Help me understand this.
Yeah. Well, can't ask either one. They're both dead. But here's little Killer. She was the one crying and holding onto the cat, but Catherine is the one who gets to love the cat. So
Well,
I
that's
thought I chose that picture, but yeah. And I think I added that exact same entry here on her page. And so there's Sarah and Catherine. They're both happy little girls now.
given what they did they ever have you skin a cat?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
No, no one's screaming out about that. Here's something I thought was fascinating. Snake, the one that had the lampreys. Now, this is an image from Google Images. And look at the mask and the fact that the lamprey's put right there in the center of the mouth. It's like, how would anyone in the world
Wow.
visualize this picture unless they had seen it before?
Now look at her eyes as well.
Right? So it's like when I found this picture, I didn't really think about it too much. But I thought, oh, well, that's perfect. There's the lamprey in the mouth and a mask and the whole deal. But it has gone through my mind about 20 times ever since, is the picture. Why would anyone ever create this picture the way that they created it unless they had seen or known of that particular type of torture?
Okay,
Right?
so you just kind of did put a couple words in, and this was one of the options.
Yeah, I just went into Google Images like I do for any of them, and I'll say I think I might have typed in lamprey in a human mouth or something like that. And this came up. And I was like, well, that's perfect. Because that's what these are. These are lampreys. And here's a person with a mask on. And all you have to do is turn this lamprey around and stick it in the mouth. So whoever created this image knew. They know.
Yeah,
There's just no other way around it. They know. So I always wanted to tell you about that.
which is very, very powerful as well.
Yeah, so here I am at 5, and there's my hair that's different. It's now a little bit more feminine.
Again, why that brief period of time such an exception?
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't make sense. It just
Right. And then my hair, she kept the bangs, right, and let the back of it grow out to the point where I could have little ponytails. So
so they wanted to create Sailor during that time.
I think so, but I just don't have recollection of him until I'm 7.
Yeah, well, they may not have pulled him back out.
Right? Yeah, that could be. So all these parts. Leech, did I? Oh, yeah, this is just where I went back into my journals and added some stuff that you already know about. Oh, there's a new entry for Slick here. Oh, that's the one where I went out on stage and Slick took the knife and chased the children like the chickens and all that, and that where she twisted her knee on a prop and whatever. And that's where the Electric Sailor was brought out from time to time as well. And there's Claire. Oh, here's Lonnie, which used to be this. I don't think you ever saw the original picture because it changed within one day.
Oh, okay.
But it went from this image of being sad and lonely and alone and not deserving God's love to, oh, yeah, I deserve to have a family and friends and all that. So that TED Talk was very productive.
Wonderful. Good, good, good.
Yeah. And I should probably sketch this out, but I do have an image of Angie and Mary. They popped their head around, the curtain, and Dad said, get the hell out of here, or something like that. So they did come and look.
Oh, okay, which makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah, yeah. There's Finnegan, and you know about him with the plays, and Jonathan and the plays. So Jonathan's was it the French Revolution? Or no, his were the Bible stories. That's right. And Finnegan's were the Shakespearean plays. Oh, right. And then Executioner was the French Revolution with the guillotine and all that. So there's
Okay. I had you right. Okay. Yep.
yeah, there's Sailor. He was born much younger, but like I said, it hasn't been revealed to me yet. So I'm pretty sure he was 4. So this page will change and then move locations. And Joker, he's been telling me that he's kind of ready to show me stuff, but hasn't yet.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah. Because I
What has
keep
been his,
thinking he killed like, I don't know, I think 7 people or something.
is
So,
that his hesitation that he's not sure he wants to kind of go back there and disclose it?
well, I know that he killed, or I had to kill adults with the scarf, but
Yeah.
I feel like, well, right now I'm getting the impression that one of them went wrong or went bad, and it
Okay.
got really ugly. And I think I had to like cut their throat instead and got in trouble for it, or I don't
Oh,
know. Yeah.
'cause that would be quite a, because ultimately look at the size. I mean, this would be age 7 to 11. So you think about a
But
kid.
and doing that to an adult, yeah, and how they would have me do it was to if have the person would be laying in a bed and I would get behind their head and pretend to be seducing them somehow, and I'd put my feet on their shoulders and then wrap the scarf around their neck and then pull, and it would be that leverage between pushing with my feet and pulling the scarf and strangling them, and their arms would reach up and be fighting with me. Unless, and I think maybe that was the first one, is they didn't realize that I would have to be fighting with somebody's a grown adult. And so from that point forward, I was persuaded, conditioned, persuaded to uh somehow secure their arms to the bed, like I was gonna seduce them by them being, you
Oh,
handcuffed or
yeah.
rope or whatever. And so once I had their hands secured, then I could strangle them.
Okay, that makes sense because I was just going to ask.
But I
As you,
think the first one, I'm getting the notion now that the first one went real bad, real wrong, and I think the handler came in and helped me finish it off.
okay, see, I was that's what I was gonna ask, because think about the dexterity that would take for a kid.
A
Planning,
7-year-old against a 40-year-old man or 50-year-old
yeah.
man.
And
Yeah, I
so
mean,
the scarf situation isn't working. So how does a 7-year-old switch instruments or implement,
yeah, I think the handler came in and finished it off and was pissed off at me, but I realized he was more pissed off at himself for not anticipating that as a problem.
do you remember anything what the handler would say to you at that?
I just remember he came in and he just like pushed pushed me away and out of the scenario and took a knife and cut the guy's throat. I think I was still strangling and having to fight somehow, and this guy knew I wasn't going to win and that guy had to go down, so he just came in and handled it. But, you know, if he had pushed me out of the way, then the victim would have started to get up. But I think he pushed his chest down and slit his throat.
So
So
it's
yeah,
interesting it's coming back to you. So maybe Joker's starting to release.
yeah, yeah, because that really freaked me out. That's where Joker was born, right there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, in that very first strangulation.
Yeah.
And he was
Yeah.
really freaked out about it. And then the next ones they made easier. So he was more comfortable with it. So, okay, we need to secure their wrists first. Okay, I can do that, you know, because you can't fight against an adult, a little girl. It doesn't make sense.
I'm glad we just talked about that because as you
Me
said,
too.
you
Yeah.
feel like Joker was just getting ready to share with you. And so now obviously
Yeah, I
some,
just did right now.
yeah.
Yeah. Because he's been whacking on Ted quite a bit,
Oh,
but not really sharing. Yeah. And not really whack. He's the one that takes the thing and wraps it around his neck and just
yep.
strangles the shit out of it.
Yep.
He wants to strangle every perp on the planet.
There we
He's
go. You're
furious.
right.
Yeah.
I like him.
He's
Absolutely.
he's furious. Yeah.
Okay, that's perfect, right? Because that's how
Yeah.
you guys are going to continue to get through this. It's
Yeah.
the rage, right? You got the rage will propel you on.
Yeah, yeah, he's probably strangled out that Ted maybe 10 or 15 times.
Good.
He gets up on there and just goes crazy. And Dunker, there's more to her story, but I'm not sure what it is. Executioner, this one really filled in. Remember, I thought that this was the MC,
Yeah.
and it's not. He's the one about the French Revolution and the guillotine.
Oh, I gotcha.
Yeah, so
You want to fill in the
but there
role?
was another part that was
If
the
you just
MC.
took out the role. I don't know if you knew that.
I do, yeah. I thought I had done that before, but I guess I must not have saved it.
You want to add that in right now, or
Well, no, well, yeah.
you're not sure?
No, I know what his role was. The
Oh, okay. Okay.
operated the GUIT. I can never remember how to spell
L.
guillotine.
It's GUIL.
Yeah, LLO operated the guillotine in
Oh, good for you.
the plays. But
Okay.
yeah, this is gonna I think all of this is gonna change right here.
Oh, okay.
I
I
just
got
haven't gone through it yet. But yeah, I added the page there. I looked up the French Revolution, yada yada. I think I told you about that. But here's Fatty. Fatty,
Oh, good. And so Felicity, good for you, Diana.
isn't
Good.
she beautiful? Yeah, she
Wow.
is.
That's wonderful.
Well, Felicity is the heart between the bad and the heinous.
Yeah.
She's that wall between, okay, yeah, there's bad stuff going on,
Yeah. Yeah.
really bad stuff, but I'm going to be the wall between the bad and the horrific,
Yeah.
right? Trish was the wall between normal and bad.
Yep.
Felicity was the wall between bad and horrific.
Okay, there we go. So,
So,
has Felicity had a chance to do any venting?
oh yeah, yeah. Yeah, she's good.
Okay.
But she still wants to eat eat a lot of cake and candies and
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
So that hasn't really gone away yet. But
Well, again, whenever you have that intensity, if you can, just behind that intensity is the rage.
go beat up Ted.
Absolutely right.
Yeah.
That's that cue to.
So this is and I'm 7, right? And so this is in my normal life, but I think things started to slip through and I found a way to distract myself. So
Oh, yeah, I remember you saying that.
I
Yeah.
would knit like crazy.
You
Yeah.
made that red big, yeah,
Yeah,
19
the
by
red big,
19.
yeah, it was like the color of this sweater. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
and I think my sister Mary, she did have it 10 years ago. She made it into a dog blanket, but
But wasn't that speaking volumes? And you know your mom and dad saw you doing that. It's all pure blood
this,
red.
just knitting, just
Yeah.
knitting. And,
Well,
and
look at the color.
it's literally like 10 feet by 10-foot
Yeah.
blanket. It was massive. Yeah, yeah.
But the color matters. It's all red.
Yeah, that's true. It's like, yeah, it was like brick red. Yeah.
There, right? You can't get much closer to the color of blood.
Yeah. And this guy, I think his location needs to change. He probably needs to be by the executioner and the killers, but I think this is the one who is the MC for the satanic show. I think he
Yeah.
would learn how to make the deals, and once the deals were made, go out on stage and then introduce the show. And then that's when the executioner or Jonathan or Finnegan or
Yeah.
the play would begin and those parts would do their stuff.
Well, Diana, I hate to interrupt. I just looked at the time.
Oh
We're
yeah, it's 12.
getting
Yeah.
over time.
Well, we got through a lot of stuff. That's where all the changes were. Anyway, up
Okay.
to here. Yeah.
Okay.
So I
We
just need to go through and update it a little bit more.
And then we'll still go through I'm interested in what you're sensing again about who's communicating with who now. And then, so let's definitely review the map.
Okay, definitely. Okay, next go around for sure. All right,
Excellent.
so we'll get out of there.
Well, good
And
work.
well,
Good work.
thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was all excited because I got 5 weeks worth of videos done in 10 days. I've got like basically 4 weeks off now, so I can focus on this. And that's why I thought, well, I'll do a little bit of the transcripts. So it kind of worked out. Yeah. I couldn't believe it. I was like, I got 5 of them done in 10 days. That's awesome. Never did that before, but God just kind of moved everything together. So it's cool.
Well, you're doing good work. Well, let me pray.
Okay.
Gosh. Lord, thank you so much. Again, that Diana and I can work together. And Lord, thank you for overseeing just this whole process that she is undertaking. Lord, the journey to healing, but wow, the insights, the memories that are coming back, Lord, continue to be with her as she braces for those, and she's having to connect with her rage. Lord, thank you for the degree to which she is being set free, that the different parts are being able to gain clarity and separate out who they are from who they are not or were not, what they were told, how they also feel. Lord, thank you that we are perfect in your sight, or that you make us new, and continue to give those parts a sense that you know that they were forced to do all this different stuff. And so make the different perpetrators turn it up even hotter in hell for them and make them feel it. So thank you that we can trust that you are the avenger of the pain. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Very nice. Yeah. When you said turn the heat up in hell, I was thinking, amen, brother.
Right, there it is. There it is. Make them pay. Make them pay.
Yeah. All right. Well, great. Well, thank you. And have a great rest of your day or your next
Well, thank
client
you.
or whatever.
We'll plan on picking it up next week.
Okay. Tuesday then. All
There
right.
you go.
See you then.
Bye.
Okay. Bye.